What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BallGame podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
I'm Tom.
Nice. Good intro, guys. All right, so week 2 of the NFL season is in the books. The NFC is so confusing that the New Orleans Saints are the best team in the conference. Trouble in Paradise as Carolina is falling apart. The AFC, yeah, that was cringe. I see Tricali over there with a little smile on his face. Hey, man, the AFC is a jumbled mess as well. We don't know who's good in the NFL right now because the good teams are bad and the bad teams are good. Things are a mess, and we're here to figure it out. Happy to have you guys back here on the BallGame pod, so let's jump straight into things. Why waste any time when we could talk about Derek Carr, the greatest quarterback to ever live, to ever play the game of football? The Saints are for real, and I can't wait to see them in the Super Bowl in a home game. So, yeah, what do you guys think about the Saints? How do we feel? It's early, but they're 2-0, and they have absolutely rolled over their first 2 opponents.
How do we feel? I think we're all shocked. Like genuinely shocked. Nobody expected the Saints to be this good. Especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, if they came in and just had a stellar defense, I wouldn't be surprised, but the offensive side of the ball is where they're killing things, and it starts with the man you mentioned up top, Derek Carr. I mean, he looks like, I don't even know if he looks like his old self or a better version or better than he's ever looked, you know? He looks super confident. He's grabbing his stuff in the end zone, you know? He's flexing on everybody. The confidence is booming with Derek Carr.
Boom.
I think when you ask anyone about why the Saints are so good, they're going to point to 2 things. One of them is the play calling, obviously. I mean, it's just night and day from last year. I don't know how many of you guys watched the Saints offense last year. I didn't, because it was putrid and awful, and it was checkdowns, and they couldn't run the ball. And this play calling with all the pre-snap motion, which you hear a lot of people talk about that stuff. The camera's really far.
It's throwing
me off. Yeah.
Throwing me
I think the ambiance of the shot is for us to look at each other and talk and not even disregard the cameras.
I don't like looking at you guys. But the pre-snap motion, and what that does is it makes everyone's life easier on offense, right? It makes quarterback's life easier. He gets to see if the team's in man coverage and he has a mismatch that he can expose, or if the team's in zone coverage, or maybe there's a blitzer he can pick up. You look at any of the top 5 offenses in the NFL, they're probably all top 5 in pre-snap motion, I would imagine. And that goes, listen, if ever a coordinator were to win Coach of the Year, it'd be Clint Kubiak or Kubiak?
Yeah, because
Kubiak,
fuck
right?
Dennis Allen.
Yeah, Dennis Allen, I still think sucks his job, but that's for
Good
another day.
defensive coordinator.
Right, good defensive play caller and all that. And the offensive line, man, you guys probably have the numbers, but I don't think I've seen Derek Carr get pressured once. And, you know, every quarterback's at their best when they're not under pressure. And they neutralized Micah Parsons in this last game. I mean, he didn't do anything. The one shot he had to Shaheed down the field, you saw Parsons try to go off the edge, and another guard, I think it was, just went around and completely blitzed him. So
What an emerging superstar, man.
Yeah. Shaheed is looking like
D-Jax.
That's a great comp, actually. And yeah, the Saints are balling, and they haven't even really needed Chris Olave. Like, he really hasn't done much. I think that'll change. Kamara looks like an old version of himself. I mean, they're really, really balling to start the year.
Super Camario is back.
He sure is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a combination of everything clicking. I mean, you could point to any aspect of their offense and say that's why they're starting so hot. You could point at Derek Carr. You could point at the O-line. You could honestly point at the playmakers making plays, you know, not just Chris Olave, because we thought that was kind of all they had, but Olave, Kamara, you mentioned Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill has made a few plays here and there. Even Jamal Williams has had a few big runs for them here and there. So Juwan Johnson caught a touchdown for them in week 1. It's just been a combination of everything. And, you know, you mentioned I have all these numbers. Derek Carr's only thrown the ball 39 times through 2 games, which is, it's just insane. The efficiency that he's, you know, generating these big plays. And it's, you know, kind of a combination of everything everyone's been talking about through 2 weeks of the NFL season. You know, we're seeing this trend of you got to run pre-snap motion and you got to run play action. And That's to keep these defenses guessing, because the trend of defenses has been, you look at Spags and KC, it's all about disguise. You want to show cover 3 and run a cover 2. You look at, there was a clip of a Vikings defensive snap where they had like one high safety and it looked like it was going to be just like a cover 1 all-out blitz, and it ended up being a Tampa 2. Like, it was just, everyone was like hyping up Brian Flores because of that.
Even Brock Purdy.
Yeah, so the defenses want to disguise shit, but if you're changing stuff at the line of scrimmage, you don't allow them. The defense has to adjust to you. The defense can't make adjustments and do their own thing. So then, the thing with the Saints was they didn't do any of this stuff last year. This year, they're the only team in the NFL with a greater than 80% motion rate on passing plays, and they're the only team with a greater than 50% play action rate on passing plays, and there's no one with even a 40% play action rate. So they're just, the play calling, like Clint Kubiak, we all knew was going to be an upgrade coming from that Shanahan tree. It was just, with Carmichael last year, it was just like watching paint dry. We knew it was going to be an upgrade. But, I mean, they're just dumbing the game down and, creating all these mismatches and just allowing there to be these big plays. And then you mentioned the offensive line. I mean, Derek Carr's been sacked twice. They've allowed a 23.8% pressure rate, which is the 5th lowest in the league. They're 4th in PFF pass blocking grade. The rookie Fuaga at tackle hasn't allowed a single pressure. Eric McCoy, the interior of the offensive line has been insane. Yep. Eric McCoy, the center, has an 80 PFF grade. Cesar Ruiz has an 83.8 grade. Lucas Patrick, the other guard, has a 77.2. But they've been even better run blocking. Alvin Kamara is averaging 5.7 yards per carry. In run blocking, they rank 2nd in PFF grade. McCoy's at a 94.1 grade, and Lucas Patrick's at a 90.5, which is just insane. And then just one last stat to point out. In week 2, they ran 3 wide receiver sets, 11 personnel, 10.7% of the time. That was the lowest in the NFL. The second lowest was the Cardinals at 32.3. So they are, and it shows up in the tape, because Kamara's not just, what happened, bro? I lost the camera. Let's keep going. Okay.
Camera one's
it's right here, bro. Kamara's averaging 5.7 yards a carry, and it shows up in the tape. Like, he's just not being touched. Like, I mean, he took a screen pass 60. Like, do you know how insane it is for a running back to take a screen pass 60 yards to the crib and not be touched?
So, like, shovel pass?
Yes, not be touched,
not a single
bro.
broken
And,
tackle.
I mean, the clip circulating of the guys, the O-line, just running down there with, like, 4.3 speed. Yep. Like, everything's just clicking for them. And
Cesar Ruiz was flying.
So, again, that brings me back to the meta of this year. Like we've seen, the passing touchdown numbers are down, scoring's down, because everything's a too high shell. They want to keep everything underneath, not allow big plays. What are you exposed? What are you exposed to there? It's the run. And a lot of these teams haven't been able to run the ball successfully. The Saints have. And they're, as we see, they're sticking with those 3 tight end sets. Johnson's out there. Taysom Hill is out there. They're running the ball hard. And what does that open up? The defense has to adjust. They get out of those 2 high shells that we're seeing. The big plays open up. And if anyone's going to take a shot and just sling that rock around, it is Derek Carr. And
and those throws are, you can't make a better throw.
Can't make a better throw. Derek Carr is just a guy we've seen throughout his career that he's just so, I said this to JC at work yesterday, he's just like so dependent on his confidence. Like when Derek Carr is confident and he's slinging that ball around, he looks like a top 5 quarterback. Like this level of performance, like for the Saints, it should be a surprise. Seeing Derek Carr play at this level shouldn't be a surprise to anyone.
Yeah.
For a 2-week stretch to see Derek Carr look like the best quarterback in the league, like we've seen this before. Mm-hmm. Derek Carr, when he's playing like that, it's great. When it's low, it's bad. When it's low, it's bad. So for all the praise and excitement I've just given them, it's been easy going for them. The games have been over. The Panthers game was over in the first quarter. This Cowboys game was over in the first half, and they've scored 15 times on the 15 drives that Derek Carr's been in a quarterback.
They scored, yeah.
As much as it's been awesome and it's been fun, that level is not sustainable. No. We all know that. That level is not sustainable. They're not going to win every game by 20 points. I'm very curious to see when this team gets tested. I don't know if anyone knows what their upcoming schedule is, but
I know they play Detroit Atlanta
That's a test.
and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, those are tests.
Those are tests.
Even
That's what I was
Atlanta,
gonna
who
get at, yeah.
snuck out and won yesterday, that's a division game,
Kirk
so
was
those are
looking
always
great.
tough. So yeah, I'm very curious to, and I'm not going to write them off. I'm not going to say they're frauds. They can't beat good teams because we don't know yet. All I'm saying
they
is
did smack the shit out of a good team.
the Cowboys might not be. Who knows? It's only week 2. We don't know.
The Cowboys also probably underestimated them to a
Nothing set.
so.
Nothing set in stone yet. So it's week 2. They won these games by 20 plus points. It's not always going to be that easy. So when the going gets tough, when you need a money drive, when you need Derek Carr to really step up in a clutch moment with this group of guys, how does Fuaga do when life's on the line? How does this collection of offensive line, do they look like the best offensive line of all time when the stakes are high, when the pressure's on? So that's something I'm just curious to see. But it's been fun through 2 weeks. They look like the greatest show on turf.
Yeah,
it's scary to think. Ryan Ramczyk out for the year, obviously. What this O-line could have looked like with a healthy Ryan Ramczyk is even crazier. We didn't give any credit to the defense, and they deserve a lot of credit as well. This is a loaded pass rush group. This is a loaded secondary. Top to bottom, this defense is one of the best units in the league. And I do think long-term, even if the offense falters at points, you have a defense that you can lean on. We saw that at points last year. We've seen that over the last few seasons. Derek Carr, as you said, this shouldn't be a surprise. Down the stretch of last season, he was phenomenal. That's a forgotten stat. Derek Carr, over his last 6 or 7 starts last year, was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL statistically. So I just think it's amazing to me that some of these offensive coordinators have one way of looking at things and will never change it. It was the same Sean Payton system that was working 15, 16 years ago. And Pete Carmichael, which, by the way, sounds like such an old man name. No wonder you were stuck in the fucking past. It's just crazy to me that putting Rashid Shaheed, your fastest player on the field, in motion before a snap, almost like the Dolphins do with Tyreek Hill, is a good thing to do.
I think he's actually been the second fastest player in the leagues other than Tyreek Hill.
So it's ridiculous. I don't understand how some of these OCs see what works and don't try to mimic it. The NFL is a copycat league, which is obviously what we're seeing more and more because teams are going to shift to motion. But some of these OCs just see it and don't realize oh, maybe I should make a switch. Maybe I should try doing this because they're so set in their ways and they're so used to doing something their way. And that's why I don't want to bring up another team, but the Chicago Bears, what is it, Luke Getsy now? He's getting fucking canned in 5 weeks. I guarantee you that.
Shane Waldron?
Shane Waldron, sorry. Whoever it is. Regardless, they suck. They suck. And then Carolina, Dave Canales won't be long if this is the case. We know David Tepper has a temper. So, I don't understand. I don't get how teams in the offseason don't look at the situation and think, oh, maybe we should start doing what actually works in NFL circles. Maybe what Shanahan or McVay do, that's probably what would work given they win the most. But no, I personally do think the Saints are for real. I think, as I said, they have a great defense to lean on when the offense falters, which they're going to be effective on both sides. If this offensive line does hold up, and I know it's only 40-something dropbacks now, if it's even close to this good, that was the biggest question mark going in. Everybody looked at the Saints offensive line and said, that's the problem area of this team, so they're going to suck. And here they are. They're great because the offensive line is great. And of course, Clint Kubiak changed the entire culture there because of the fact that this offense is modern now, and that helps Derek Carr. That helps an older version and what a lot of people thought was a more washed up version of Alvin Kamara as well. So, the Saints are for real, in my personal opinion. And we're going to talk about what teams we think are legit in the NFC. So, yeah.
So, before we talk about I'm going to finish up on the Saints. I'm not ready to call them for real as NFC contenders yet. I would like to see them. This is an older team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I want to see how they hold up over the course of the season. And Chris, like you said, I want to see them battle tested. We've seen teams in the NFL like the Bills of the past. We've seen teams be really good when they stomp people out, and then when it gets to a close, tough game,
the Ravens,
they don't look as good. So We've seen it in the NFL. I'm not quite ready to go that far yet, but if they can play if they can play anywhere close to this level, yeah, they can absolutely make it out.
I mean, and given their current situation and the division they play in, I mean, it definitely opens the door for them to. I mean, we should be looking at this team as a playoff team moving forward until proven otherwise. They should be able to get in there, given how things line up for them.
They're favored against the Eagles this week. Isn't that crazy? Like, imagine 2 weeks ago I told you they'd be favored against the Eagles.
That's nuts.
They're like minus 185 or something against the Eagles, like something crazy. Yeah.
That's a trap. It's a trap.
Could be.
It's
Maybe
a trap
not.
now. The Eagles flip the script.
Yeah, I mean, like you said about teams adapting their ways, like I think it's even more evident with this group because they don't have much of a personnel change from last year. It's pretty much all the same guys just being used the right way.
If anything, the offensive line got worse.
Right. It's all the same guys being used the right way. So like if that's not a wake up call, if that's not a wake up call to teams to be like, hey, like adapt to the times, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. And I mean, that's the best in the NFC South. Before we do jump into all the best teams in the NFC, how about we talk about the worst in the NFC South? Man, I mentioned it before. Dave Canales, David Tepper does not have much patience.
No.
The Carolina Panthers are falling apart. Bryce Young is already benched 2 games into his second season in the NFL after looking totally incompetent, might I add. Andy Dalton is now the starter going forward for the foreseeable future. I wonder if that changes at any point. But Dave Canales has not helped Bryce Young. He has turned out to not be the quarterback whisperer that we all thought he was coming in. Maybe the teams that he was on just had a lot of offensive talent, and the quarterbacks were just better than we expected, and we're set for a breakout. Yeah, or Bryce just is the worst ever.
I was about to say, or Bryce Young is just
that's where I was going.
I
with
mean,
that.
So, what do you guys think? Where are we at with the Panthers? Is there a bright spot in their future at any point?
No, there's no bright spots moving forward for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, they might have to sell the team and relocate because this is bad. Given what they gave up for Bryce Young, to be giving up on him 2 games into his second season is absurd. And we see Tom Brady's been preaching it since the day he retired. These rookie quarterbacks should not be playing. The dude was clearly not ready to be out there on an NFL field. And also, not as much this year, but last year, it was one of the worst situations, or the worst situation in the NFL. So that wasn't doing him any favors. And now it's done. And given what they gave up for him, it can't be done. Because the franchise is cooked for the next 10 years if this guy doesn't work out. That's what it always was. We've been saying it since the trade went down with the Bears. Once they gave up that much for Bryce Young, it became Bryce Young has to be a franchise-level quarterback, or this franchise is set back for the next 10 seasons. And moving that guy to the bench 2 weeks into his second season, when you just went on a press conference the day before Dave Canales and said that's our quarterback, it's done. We see it time and time again. These quarterbacks' confidence, we just talked about it with Derek Carr. Confidence is the most important thing for them. And there's just, they say, oh, he's going to learn from Andy Dalton and then maybe be ready to go next year. Here's how it's going to go. His confidence is obviously shot right now. He just got moved to the bench. Maybe he could pick up a thing or two from Andy Dalton starting, sure. But all offseason, his confidence is shot now from being moved to the bench for Andy Dalton. All offseason, it's going to be, what should the Panthers do? Draft a quarterback or ride with Bryce Young? And to be quite frank with you, with the number 1 overall pick, they're going to draft a quarterback.
Right.
So Bryce Young in Carolina is going to fail. And now what they're going to do is bring in another quarterback who, guess what? He's going to fucking fail too. He who doesn't even have a name yet is going to fail too. Because this ownership, we talked about it all last season too with Bryce Young, with his struggles, how we felt so bad for him. This ownership group, they just don't know what they're doing. They've been terrible. David Tepper, since he took over, it has been wrong decision after wrong decision after wrong decision. You trade away Christian McCaffrey, you trade away DJ Moore, you trade away Brian Burns, you trade away the number 1 overall pick. You trade for the number 1 overall pick, my bad, and give away all that stuff. It's just been wrong decision after wrong decision, and the franchise is fucked. And in terms of Bryce Young, I mean, I feel for the guy, but shit, he sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is. Like, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Like, and I'm sure this sucks for him, like, mentally and shit like that. Like, you know, I hope all is well because guys could get in a deep, deep place after stuff like this. So, for real, I hope everything's well with him. But you just got to call it what it is. I mean, he's been by far the worst starting quarterback in the NFL through 2 weeks, and it's not even close.
No.
And it's especially tough when your running mate is now lauded as the best quarterback or one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league.
Right.
Like the number 2 pick right after you is now one of the best in the NFL.
Right.
I mean,
Just to compound the situation. So
yeah, I mean, just like some stats. I didn't write down a novel for Bryce, but in PFF passing grade, EPA per play, success rate, by far the worst. In this past game, he didn't attempt a single pass over 15 yards down the field.
Yep.
He only attempted 2 passes of 10 plus air yards. He didn't complete a single one of them. The man didn't, in a full NFL game, the man did not complete 1 pass more than 10 yards. He didn't complete 1 pass for a first down. Like, I mean, I'm sure he got a first down, but like a first down distance.
they probably didn't.
They might not have.
They probably didn't.
They've converted 9% of their third down so far this season. Actually, that's another stat I have. And we talked about all offseason. They got him some help, and they paid for an O-line, and they're doing their best job. I mean, they're the 5th best PFF pass blocking unit, so they're doing their part. Bryce Young just...
It hasn't felt that way, though.
I was gonna say you also don't
Because
have to rush the quarterback if he can't throw the ball. Like you
Yeah.
just cover
It's
the field.
self-inflicted, though. It's not them. It's Bryce Young.
No, it's definitely not. Yeah.
It's just making.
He's not reading the field. He's evading the pocket way too quick. He's trying to play make. Clearly, we're seeing he just doesn't have the athletic tools to be able to play make like that. The arm looks weak. The accuracy is not what we thought it was. And mentally, he's just not like it's all bad. Like everything,
no Bryce,
dissecting
no
like attributes in a quarterback, like everything you want your quarterback to have, he's not doing.
Yeah.
He's not doing any aspect of quarterbacking good. Like not a single nothing. At least like you could look at Daniel Jones and say, man, hey, sometimes on a third down, that guy could scramble and get us the first down.
Yeah, and he's got a strong arm for an NFL quarterback.
Sure.
So he does. I mean, objectively.
I'm not gonna talk about Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no, but like it's just
physical tools, but
it's just all bad for Brett. He does not forget about being a bust of a number 1 overall pick. Like the guy does not even look like an NFL. Like he doesn't look like a backup. Like he doesn't even look as good as fucking Zach Wilson, bro. Like
you said it in the chat. Is he better than Zach? Who posed that question?
I don't know.
Posed the question?
Maybe.
He said something like, when he said the segment title, he said Bryce Young's not better than Zach Wilson.
You're right.
Yeah, no, he's not.
You're unfortunately right. He's not even close.
In my years of watching football, I'd probably Nathan Peterman.
Yeah,
is still up there.
Even Nate had a stretch where he was half decent.
EJ Manuel really turned me off. I thought he was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Nathan Peterman was the guy that could have spiked it into the ground on every snap ever and had a better QBR, right?
Yeah.
That's who we're talking about. That's who we're comparing.
Those 2 guys come to mind, but other than that, like this is the worst. Not even this year, not even late. Like this is the worst quarterback play I've seen in my however many years of watching football.
Like, Trey Lance was at least athletic.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he at least had something that says like, all right, like this guy's dog shit, but maybe there could potentially be something.
He can do something at an NFL level.
Bryce Young's not doing anything at an NFL level, and I saw it was funny. We were in the party, the PlayStation party yesterday, talking about this shit. Me and Dean, and I said, Mila Kunis, who was in that '70s show, but I meant Mina Kimes, who works for ESPN. He was like, "What?" Dean was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But Mina Kimes, who works for ESPN, was saying, I saw a tweet. It was like, "Shout out to her for owning her mistake." But she was like, in pre-draft process, a lot of us, just overlooked how fucking small this dude is. And like she said, like I'm one of those people, and I'll admit it too. Like I'm one of those people too, because it looked like he could just make it work at the college level, and it would translate over, but. I mean, like out of everything, like he's not making decisions, like he's not being a good NFL quarterback. That might be the biggest thing that's leading. Like he can't fucking see over the offensive line. And like you look at those smaller quarterbacks, like a Russ, like a Kyler Murray. 1, those guys are pretty stocky, and 2, those guys were just athletic enough to make plays at the NFL level. Bryce Young, like we knew he wasn't gonna be the best sit in the pocket passer because of his size. Like, it's going to be hard to throw over the middle. We've been talking about that with Russ for years, the throwing over the middle of the field. We knew that wasn't going to be there, but it was supposed to be the playmaking ability and the ability to kind of be a one-man offense and make something out of nothing. And he's made nothing out of nothing. Like, it's just been all bad. So,
yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit everything, but yeah.
I want the Dolphins to trade for him, though. I've been seeing
I mean, he's still, he's still young. He'll still have, like, somebody will take a shot on him because of who he was supposed to be. But,
bro, I don't know. Yeah, Nick's shaking his head over there, and I feel the same way. I don't know, bro. I don't think another team takes like, he'll become a backup somewhere.
Yeah, he'll have his chance. I mean,
I don't think he ever gets another chance to start.
There might be a team who might, like, need him to, like, shit the Dolphins. Like, our quarterback might die.
Not
like,
anytime soon.
He's not saying the Giants. We're not saying no. The Giants would not make a move on him. No,
not anytime
like
soon.
The Dolphins,
either,
like shit. Like, if Tua is not the long-term answer and we don't draft a quarterback this year, like, I wouldn't mind just taking a shot and seeing what's there, and then losing every game and
somebody traded for Zach Wilson, and obviously we just said Bryce Young's like the worst quarterback ever, but Zach
had physical tools.
Right.
You're looking at Bryce and you're like, what do I have to work with? There is, like, I hate to put it like that, but when you're trading
he hasn't shown anything.
When you're trading for one of these guys, like Zach Wilson showed that he has a cannon of an arm and he's pretty damn athletic. Like, it's like, okay, maybe we could work something out with that. You're looking at Bryce and it's like, he's underwhelming athletically. He has an underwhelming arm. He cannot throw an accurate football for the life of him. He can't process and read a defense and make quick decisions. What is there?
Someone will take a shot on him as a backup.
Yeah,
he was the number. There was
a backup.
There was enough there for him as the number one pick that someone will see something in him to be a backup. And like I said, if backup quarterbacks sometimes have to play games. Like, that's just the NFL.
No, I know.
Like, he might have to play by necessity.
I thought
no one's taking a shot on him to be their starter. No.
Like, I meant he'll get another chance in the NFL.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
But it's all, like you said, it's all bad. There's no physical traits, and he's going to be a guy that everyone's going to look back on and say, how the hell did that guy go number one overall? But,
I mean, it's pretty over.
Especially with the guy behind him.
Right, yeah. And
drafting him over C.J. Stroud in Dynasty.
Yeah, it's a rough one, man. It really is. Like,
at least you didn't.
On the bright side, everyone drafted everyone over C.J. Stroud.
Right.
Yeah. This was also pre us switching to Superflex and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's rough. We thought that Bryce had the athletic tools. That was the problem. Like, we thought he had the athletic tools to also
I knew
be
he
a
wasn't
quality runner.
Yeah, I knew he wasn't an elite athlete, but I thought he was.
Yeah, he could make.
There was something there with the twitchiness, but like. And like that, I think that's something that still is there. It's just, I don't know, man. He doesn't have the arm strength. That's a big problem, bro. I mean, you look at Tua, like Tua at least like gets the ball out quick in the intermediate game and stuff like that. Like
Tua led the league in passing.
Yeah, Tua plays to his strengths. Like
exactly.
Bryce Young, like, one, he's not right. There's no strengths to play to, so it's just
Tua and Brock Purdy might have two of the weakest arms of any starting quarterback, and that's not a slight on them. They're still great quarterbacks. The difference between them and what Bryce Young is currently is the fact that they process like this and make a read.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of what they do. They're super accurate and they process so quickly. If you're not doing that, what the hell are you good for? Like,
I mean, we even saw with Caleb on Sunday night. Like, when you're getting out there and trying to make a play at the NFL level, like, when you're throwing on the run and shit like that and taking those shots, like, you got to put some mustard on that bitch. Like you got to really put it out there. We saw
Caleb. He has a sick arm.
Yeah, but we saw Caleb underthrowing dudes when he got out of structure, and that's just
he started the game so well.
Well, yeah, that's
so well. But
that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, I don't want to. I've different thoughts on that. Hopefully, maybe they lose again, and we could have a topic about Caleb. But
like Bryce is obviously, like we said, he's one of the worst we've ever seen. But it really is like some guys just are not ready to start right away. He's had what 3 coaches in his 13 games he's played as a starter or whatever it is. So, like, he was not set up to succeed. Like, that needs to be said. But also, no matter who your coordinator is, if you can't hit a 10-yard pass, like, that's That's on you.
I'm
man.
curious if the like ownership and coaching staff and front office group are thinking like, this could be good for him, or they're thinking like it's over because
No, I think it's over.
I know
think
we're all thinking. I know we're all thinking it's over, but I wonder if they're up there really thinking like, maybe we give him not even the full year off, maybe just a few games to kind of just get his head right,
Right,
and
he
then,
balls out
and then
in
they throw him right back out there.
So I'm thinking two things right now. I know that a report came out that like Tepper has nothing to do with the decision. I think he has some semblance of to do with this decision. Like they can't sell tickets right now. Their season is down the drain. And I also think that he's getting benched because it is over. And I say that because this is not the regime that made that trade. They have zero attachment now to Bryce Young. What do we always talk about? The best NFL organizations are the ones that move off mistakes quick. And I'm not saying that this is a good organization, but if they realize we didn't trade for him, he sucks, we might as well cut our losses, start new this offseason, and let the vet Andy Dalton go as we try to develop the rest of this team. Because at the very minimum, we know what Andy Dalton brings to the table. He has at points been a quality quarterback in the NFL. Even dating back to, what was it, last season, maybe the year prior, he had quality starts in the NFL.
Last year he had 360 passing yards in a game and like 2 touchdowns.
And that was a really good point that they have to
cut their losses.
Not even that, yes, but that they need to focus on the development of everyone else as well. Because, yes, the quarterback's the most important position, and that's the one you have to hit on. But at the end of the day, you still have to fill out a 53-man roster with good NFL players. And, I mean, we've seen it with the Giants. I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but Daniel Jones' assness, I feel like, has kind of stunted the growth of everyone else over the past few years. So we've seen it with them. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point because this is a team that, at the end of the day, on paper, still has some good young pieces that could potentially be building blocks. And
wouldn't be surprised if they fuck around and win a game now.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, with a new group and stuff like that, you get a chance to not only cut your losses, but like you said, you made sure to emphasize that this isn't a good organization. But with this front office group, this is a chance to move in that direction. We saw it with the Knicks. Yeah. It took time, and there were some moves that were questioned in the beginning, but at least there was a direction. They picked a direction, they went that direction, and they made good, smart business decisions. Obviously, they got lucky. Like, the Knicks got lucky. Jalen Brunson being who he is, like, as much as you want to say that's just good scouting and knowing ball, like, they got lucky that Jalen Brunson. And sometimes you got to get lucky.
I don't think we had any. Yeah, I don't think
you got to get lucky.
Good.
Yeah, you got to get lucky.
They expected him to be a slightly above average point guard and stabilize.
At the end of the day, that's kind of life. That you give and take, karma, all that stuff. If you make good decisions, you'll get lucky.
Yeah,
we see with the Chiefs.
Yep.
You make good decisions, you'll get lucky. Like it'll come back for you.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting situation to monitor. I don't think anyone's going to be watching the games, but we're all going to be box score watching and seeing what happens. And we're going to be paying very close attention to who they draft and how things shake out for them the next few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I cut you off. I'm sorry about that. Just to close my thoughts on this, as I said it before, you do need to develop the guys around you. Like Xavier Legette is a first-round pick. How are you going to know what you have in Xavier Legette? How are you going to make Xavier Legette better if you can't even get him the goddamn ball? Or Jonathan Mingo, I'm not saying he's a good quality NFL receiver, but we have no idea what we have in him if we can't get him the ball. And it's just from there you need to figure it out. Who do you keep? Who deserves to be here with your future quarterback? And I just think that Andy's going to at least give you a shot to see that. So,
yeah. I was just going to end on this. Some people are out there saying, why not keep him in and just tank for the first pick? And it's like, well, first of all, you saw what they did last time they had the first pick. They did this. And second of all, yeah, that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help Bryce. The best thing for Bryce now is to get benched and hopefully learn and have some internal growth and become a quality player somehow, some way. And, yeah, you have to – the guys around you are just going to lose complete confidence in you and they're not going to believe in you as a – ownership or as coaches or anything if you're just going to go out there and purposely lose games. So you can't like, as much as we all say oh, you guys should just tank. Like real good NFL GMs and coaches are not going to do that.
And last thing, look at what happened with a guy that we may mention in a bit, Sam Darnold. Like, he ended up just not being able to be a starter for years now. And it turned out to be the best thing for his career. Granted, Sam Darnold has far better physical tools than Bryce Young does,
Right.
but it turned out to be the best thing for his career. He landed in a good situation, learned from the right coaches, just sat. Did not see the field, just sat. Got the chance to completely reset his mind as an NFL quarterback after literally being destroyed by a horrendous organization. And now you get to see at certain points, whether this continues or not with him, he can be a quality starting quarterback at points in the NFL. And hopefully, I pray, because Bryce is, from all accounts, a super cool dude. You still have Adam Thielen defending this man, too. Like, if your teammates are still going to bat, going out of their way to go to bat for you, it has to show some semblance of character for you. And I wish the best for Bryce. I hope it all works out in the long run.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, it's enough Panthers talk.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes you gotta have these like
Yeah, you can't only talk
shit
about
on
the popular teams. You know?
exactly. So
Wouldn't be good journalism.
but you know what? We got to talk about some popular teams now. We'll turn things back positive. And I just want to see after 2 weeks how much our opinions could have changed on the NFC playoff race. Because it seems like everyone is in such a conglomerate of like decent teams right now in the NFC. And I'm very curious as to what our predictions were at the start of the season versus through 2 weeks, how quickly things can change in the NFL and where we stand with the NFC and the current playoff race.
So my prediction was the Rams, so that's obviously cooked. I mean, half their team's hospitalized. I don't really have much to say about it. Like, that's
Not
just
their fault.
Yeah, that's just
No,
what
yeah.
it is. Would they have been a Super Bowl caliber team if they were healthy? I'm honestly going to say probably not. Like, I'll
agree.
own my miss there and say probably not. But they're hurt, so we're never going to know, and that's cooked down the drain. But, I mean, I feel like consensusly the top two teams going into the season in the NFC were the Lions and the 49ers. And I know the Niners are a little banged up right now, but everyone should be back when things get serious. I know the Lions haven't looked the best, but they have pretty much all their games in a dome. I know Goff hasn't been the best so far this year in the dome, but I just think they're so talented. They'll get it going. So for me, it still runs through one of those two teams, and then everyone else is kind of fighting below them, and it's kind of just a jumble of messiness. But to me, I'd be pretty surprised. As things stand right now, I'd be pretty surprised if it wasn't the Niners or Lions representing the NFC in the bowl.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think I was on the show where you guys made your official predictions, but my prediction was probably I'd say the Lions or the Packers personally, but I think the Packers are still going to be okay because first of all, they won a game without Jordan Love. I think that's huge that they showed that they can do that. And once Jordan Love comes back, the Brazil game, you almost want to throw it out just because it was such shit conditions.
Sucks they lost,
right?
though, because
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
right there for them, man.
It really was.
Like, it's great that they're 1-1 and they won without Jordan
really
Love,
should
but
be
man,
2-0.
2-0 will
Yeah.
look good for them
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, for sure. But they can clearly
Especially
run the
given
ball.
the Vikings are winning games,
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Lord, man.
And then the Niners, like you mentioned, if they get everyone back, they're going to be right there with the top dogs in the NFC. But Brock Purdy has the few times he's looked really bad were when Debo and CMC were hobbled or in and out of the lineup in games because they haven't missed a ton of games. But I agree. I still think Detroit will get right. I still think the Niners will get right, and I think the teams that we mentioned that we think are going to be at the top, the three teams I just mentioned, Packers, Niners, Lions, should still be up there. Eagles I'm a little more worried about, and Cowboys I'd never believe in. So, but some of these teams, I mean, we had Tampa Bay win a playoff game last year and damn near win two. I mean, there's going to be some upsets and going to be some surprises in the NFC this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned a team right there that we don't have in this conference, but Tampa's like in the mix. They're probably, honestly, as things stand right now, they might be the next team up for me. Like they've been that good. They were
You
that
take them
good.
over the Saints?
Yeah, I trust them more.
I feel like it's tough because
I trust them more.
Zero run game. Still.
Yeah.
I just trust them a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I could change my mind on that next week, but it's too early for me on this
What
thing.
is it?
it's just too early. I've only seen 2 games of the Saints look good. The Bucs won a playoff game last year with this core of dudes. They won the division and won a playoff game last year with this core of dudes.
I think I'd go the Saints, but the Bucs have shown that the biggest concern really with them, like you said, they can't run the ball, and that's a legit issue because especially with the way everyone wants to run the ball.
Vita Vea now hurt.
Right.
Pretty
Yeah.
Yeah, their defense is in shambles right now, but that's kind of why I respect them because they still found a way versus a great Detroit team. I mean, I think
was nuts.
I think they were half their starting defense was second stringers in that game. I might have a tweet of who was out exactly, but I mean that makes me respect them more. And I don't know if this is a crazy take. I think when it gets down to the nitty gritty, I trust Bake more than I trust Derek Carr. As things stand right now.
Say that because since 2015, Derek Carr does.
No, Derek Carr is an elite game, but Baker's like.
Dog?
Yeah, he had. They're both dogs. Like
I feel like Baker more. It might. I don't know if it's gonna sound right, but Baker more takes matters into his own hands. Like I feel like he will.
Yeah,
he can
ain't afraid to lower the shoulder and run a guy over.
Yeah. And I think that.
And Carr also got that dog in him a little bit too.
No,
they're
Carr's
both
a tough
dogs.
dude for sure. They're both dogs.
No, I mean the Saints are really damn good. Again, I haven't seen them in a close game. Like
crazy how the NFC South is flipped on like the drop of a dime now.
Yeah.
Like it's like now looked at as I feel like I could safely say it's a good division. Aside from the poverty Panthers that we just talked about before, it's a good division.
Yeah. The Bucs also like the loss of Canales has not affected them the way.
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
It's been better.
Yeah,
I was gonna say like the Bucs definitely have flaws. They can't run the ball.
Yeah,
the defense is thin and injured right now. But they had those problems last year and were able to win a playoff game. Like the Saints, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think we know if the Saints have any problems yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
It looks flawless.
They're not flawless. They can't be.
Nah.
I'd rather be wrong on that than sit here and say they are perfect.
Yeah.
So like the Saints might have a fatal flaw that might hurt more than the Bucs.
You're saying the Bucs are just more like battle tested.
Yeah,
they won a close game against Detroit this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I've just seen more out of this group for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think either of those teams really have a realistic shot. Honestly, I do firmly believe
to come out of the NFC.
Yeah, I really do believe it'll be Detroit or San Fran. But
maybe I am a victim of the moment, but I do think the Saints are legit. Like I am.
You're on fucking Trincali timing lately. That's what I said in the chat. Like they have a chance, but like you really think they're like the tier of team that the Lions are?
No. But I think they're. To me, like, I think right now the NFC is open. And I do think, like, of course they're not in that tier, but do you think the Buccaneers are in the Lions tier?
No.
But they just got them. They got. So
yeah, but a regular season
game is different. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, it really could just be one of those runs. And if the Saints are who they seem to be, or even 50% of that, then they could be a legitimate threat in the NFC. If they get hot at the right time towards the end of the season, they start hot, get a little cold, figure problems out, and then get hot at the end of the season. I could see this being a team that can make a legitimate run. Would I pick them? No, but I'm saying like I could see a path because there are other teams where like for the Bucs, I'm sorry, I don't see a single path. Not being able to run the football come playoff games is a problem.
Yeah, it's a big
problem.
problem.
Does not matter. It is a problem. So. For me, it's like I could see that path for the Saints. And honestly, if this did anything these last few weeks, it just made me more all in on the Packers. Like, as much as, like, that doesn't maybe make sense because Jordan Love got hurt, Josh Jacobs looks like Josh Jacobs from 2 years ago. Through the first 2 games, that's huge. That was a concern of yours. And he's dispelled
that
notion.
60 carries in 2 games.
He's dispelled that notion. That's scary.
Yeah,
and I think they will lessen his workload as the season
for sure.
progresses. Love gets healthy, and what's his name? Patrick Taylor. He's run pretty decently well, or Emmanuel Wilson, whatever it is. The second string has run well over there. They have a bunch of receivers, and the biggest shock is honestly their defense has turned the ball over a bunch and looked dominant at times. So I think that. And the only problem was Jonathan Taylor ran on them a little bit. But Jonathan Taylor would do that to you. I have legitimized the Packers. That I feel like in my eyes has happened. But I'll just close on this. How do we feel about the Vikings? Where are we at? Like, do we think the
Vikings are just another team?
The Vikings are in that.
Maybe they could sneak in
from last year. Like like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, maybe they could
Like,
sneak in. They'll be a
sneak
fun
in,
Because
team.
Flo
but
always
they're
puts a
not-
great defense together.
They're
but-
not any type of contender.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But I do think they're a team that you don't like want to – you're not looking forward to playing. You're definitely not looking forward to playing the Vikings.
No, we'll see how the rest of the season shapes up. Like I said, the Saints, it's just too early for me. I gotta see it
Seahawks
a
are
little
2-0
bit more.
also.
Yeah,
I like
Green
the
Bay,
Seahawks,
it's
man.
tough for me, though, too, because, I don't know, these first 2 games were favorable matchups for the run game. You mentioned in the chat the Colts' run defense might be the
The worst ever.
worst in the league. So
They-
worst
and
ever.
Buckner
I'm not
just
going
went
to
on
take
IR,
too much
so-
away from that. And the Eagles' run defense isn't that good either.
it
They
doesn't
got
look
gashed
good.
by Bijan
Yeah.
last night, too.
And Algier.
Yeah, so that's kind of just a matchup thing. I don't know how I feel about Jordan Love coming back from a midseason injury. Those things, you always gotta wait and see. I can't call a team that their quarterback isn't playing football right now a contender personally.
Okay.
Like I think they're a good team on paper. They have the talent to do it. If Jordan Love comes back and is playing at that MVP level, then yeah, they're in that mix. But I don't know if me personally, I don't feel comfortable trusting a guy that's currently injured
Yeah.
to come back from a midseason injury. It's always tricky with the midseason injuries because you could always come back too early just to try and if they lose these next 2 games, he might want to rush back a
Yeah,
little earlier.
so-
I know they're saying he's progressing really, really well and he's like almost close to already coming back, but I just take caution with any type of
I
injury.
agree. And I think, say you win next week, another week, and another. Like every win is just buying another week. at this
Tennessee
point.
next week.
So, bro, that's a
Tennessee.
winnable game.
Oh, yeah. If
You've
they
been
keep
forcing-
winning, then it changes.
So you've been forcing turnovers at like a league high rate at this point.
You're talking
And
about a
now
guy
you
that
get to
turns the
go
ball
face
over.
off against the guy who loves to turn the ball over
Yeah.
and has his own coach shitting on him now. So,
Man.
I mean, if Green Bay starts 2-1, you could realistically lose the next, like you could sit him the next 2 weeks comfortably, I think.
Yeah, it really just depends how they come back, how he comes back, because like beating the Colts, leaning on your run game, like it's cool and it helps for your future seeding or whatnot.
Yeah.
But that shit you're gonna win playoff games on the back of Jordan Love.
Yep.
Like you're not gonna win a playoff game
And-
how they just beat
Yeah.
the Colts. Respectfully, it was a great game, like a huge must needed win, but that's not the recipe
No,
for this
Yeah,
team.
and
So
what
I
does Malik
can't.
Willis look like against the good defense?
Yeah,
Like
so
Tennessee's a good defense,
Yeah.
so we're gonna see
Yeah.
what happens there.
They're in that mix. They're the all of these teams to me are in that like tier 2.
I
I
agree,
just think the Lions and Niners are in their own
You don't
tier.
think the Eagles are with the Lions and Niners?
No,
Okay.
No.
not right now.
Okay.
They haven't looked that
The
way.
Eagles are getting lit up.
Yeah,
Those guys.
they
I
haven't
think.
shown
Yeah,
me.
Falcons. Kirk Cousins just
Yeah.
just tossed them.
Yeah, they haven't really shown me anything to believe that they're not the same team from last year. They're running a little more motion, but it hasn't really equated to much for them actually, which
it
is
equates
kind of
to
surprising.
Saquon costing them games. Actually, that's what it equates.
Yeah, I mean they played a pretty good game yesterday. There are obviously some flaws. The defense was, it wasn't the worst ever, but it wasn't terrible.
It was just like really down the stretch. They couldn't do
Yeah,
it.
what the fuck was the defense down the stretch? That was the
Couldn't get
problem.
any pressure on Kirk either.
That
It's
was
not
the
even
problem.
down the stretch. It was just
The last minute.
yeah,
and a half.
Saquon dropped the ball and then everything just went down. Like they really won the game for 58 minutes. And like that's important. Like you can't lose those games, but they as a team, I thought they played a
did
good
play a
enough
good
game.
enough game.
They played definitely played a
absolutely.
good enough game to win.
And
so.
I heard Kellen Moore was getting a lot of shit for that play call, bro.
The play worked.
It worked.
Well, they
He dropped the
said
ball.
too that the play call was if
Sirianni too,
if
or-
it's not
oh.
there, you take because they didn't have any timeouts
Slide.
left. You take the sack and let the clock run or whatever. So, like it was there. Like
Yeah.
you can't not like it was a perfect play call. Either the clock runs and you kick a 30-yard field goal instead of a 20-yard field goal, or you get the first down and the game's over.
Yeah.
So. There was like a 2% chance of what happening, like Saquon. I mean, I know as
Yeah.
Giant fans, you guys will probably say that that's a trend when the lights are bright, he drops
Unfortunately
balls.
is.
So
It's happened a few
multiple
Yeah,
times
so-
that he's
Happened a few
costed us
times.
games. I've seen so many Daniel Jones interceptions go off of Saquon's hands, helmet, chest, and all that.
Yeah.
So that man not as
I
reliable
turned
as you
week
think.
1 off last year because it went right off Saquon's hands into Deron Bland's hands or whatever
Yeah.
it was, and he ran it right.
Ran it
there.
right
So I was
back,
like,
yeah.
all right,
all those teams though were kind of the Bucks, the Saints, the Eagles, the Packers. The Bucks, the Saints, the Eagles, the Packers.
There's a team that Falcons? Would you include the Falcons?
Not right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, those 4 teams are probably my if
I
everything
want to
goes
put the
right.
Seahawks in there, but they
No.
have
Nah.
played dog
They've
shit
beat
teams.
two
teams
that
Yeah.
beat themselves at this point, really.
Yeah.
Well, the Pats don't beat themselves, but they can't score. So
Right.
So, yeah. All right. Well, we were just talking about good quarterback play. And, of course, we have to overreact as we have been to the early season. So, I would love it if you guys could rank your top 5 quarterbacks through 2 weeks of the NFL season. Tom, start us off.
I'm starting us off. All right.
5-1.
5-1. So number 5, I just talked about the team a little bit. I have Geno Smith. I loved what I saw in that Patriots game. The Patriots have a good defense, and they could not run the ball at all. And Geno put the team on his back and won the game. Threw for, 340 passing yards or something, and looked really good. So he impressed me. He's impressed me so far. At number 4, I have C.J. Stroud. I feel like it's kind of crazy that Stroud is probably the most talked about quarterback in the league, but yet no one's talking about how good he's really been. Like week 1, he was amazing in that Colts game, and they won the game, and nobody talked about it because Anthony Richardson made the greatest throw of all time. But C.J. Stroud has been absolutely dealing. At number 3, I have Josh Allen. I think he is. I like week 1. I was like, oh, okay, they're just gonna have to. Josh Allen's just gonna have to single-handedly win the Bills games, and the fact that he can still do that with if his weapons aren't showing up or the defense isn't doing its job, Josh Allen can just go out there and win you the game all by himself. He'll run it down your throat. He'll throw it through the air. He'll make any receiver look really good. Don't be surprised if he walks away with the MVP at the end of the year. At number 2, I have Baker Mayfield. We just talked about the Bucs at length a little bit. They won a dogfight against the Lions, and Baker just looks super confident, and he's slinging the rock. And like I said, when you need him to, he will single-handedly get the job done. He'll lower his shoulder. He's not afraid of anything. And I love Baker Mayfield. And like I said, the fact that they're doing all this without Canales, which was a big concern of theirs, and not much of a run game, love what I'm seeing from Baker. And at number 1, speaking of a guy playing confidently, it's Derek Carr. I mean, this guy's been which is insane to say, but this guy's been lighting up the league through the first 2 weeks. They walked into Arlington, they walked down the Dallas Cowboys, and Derek Carr has been dealing all season.
So at number 5, I had to give my boy credit, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has been awesome through the first 2 games. Is this sustainable? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, a 97-yard touchdown will help you out a whole lot. But I'm impressed with what I've seen from Sam Darnold, the guy that a lot of the NFL has written off prior to this. And for him to be balling out with KOC, that's nice to see. At number 4, I have C.J. Stroud. The numbers may not scream at you just yet, but the control that he's had over these games and when he's made throws, when it matters most, CJ's been an absolute baller to start this season, and he deserves credit for that. At number 3, I'd love to put him at number 1 because he really has single-handedly dominated some games. It is Josh Allen. Josh Allen not only doing it with his arm to an extent, only like 130 passing yards last game. His legs have been a massive weapon. He hasn't turned the ball over, and that's been a big-time theme throughout Josh Allen's career. He's not losing games. Through 2 games, he's not losing games, and at points he's put offenses on his back and won games with his legs. At number 2, I actually swapped yours. I have Derek Carr at number 2 because of the fact that he has only thrown the ball 39 times, and he has had one of the best running games in blowouts so far this season. For me, number 1, the most impressive quarterback so far this season is Baker Mayfield. He has had to put the team on his back, quite literally, because there is 0 run game. Chris Godwin has had his game, Mike Evans has had his game, and Baker Mayfield is playing the best football of his career and looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL without much help from a supporting cast. So, big ups to Baker Mayfield. Shake and bake his back, baby.
Yeah, so I'm surprised there's one guy you guys both left off your list. But at number 5, I had Baker Mayfield. He's been great through 2 weeks.
Whoa. 5.
Yeah, I just think there's 4 guys who've played better than him. They're 2-0. He's been pretty phenomenal, but I didn't have any notes about Baker because I figured Tom was gonna have a lot of notes and stats about him, so I just have Baker at 5. At number 4, I have Geno Smith. The Seahawks offense may have had some easy games, but Geno Smith is putting this goddamn team on his back through 2 games, and Geno Smith has 0 turnover-worthy plays this year. The only 3 starting quarterbacks who have 0 this season so far are Geno, Aaron Rodgers, and Justin Fields. The thing is, Justin Fields has thrown the ball only 43 times. Rodgers has thrown it 51 times. Geno has thrown the ball 69 times and hasn't had a turnover-worthy play yet. So he's just keeping the ball out of harm's way while he's also just... It's not checkdowns. He's slinging that freaking rock, and he's been perfect fitting the ball into tight windows. And the Seahawks just aren't giving him any support. They're 31st in pass and run block win rate. They've had 32.7% of their runs stuffed at the line of scrimmage. And I just talked about it before, about these play callers dumbing the game down for their quarterbacks. Geno Smith has thrown the second most attempts in the league with no play action, and on those plays, he's still top 10 in EPA per drop back and completion percentage. So Geno is going out there and being asked to win games. It's not like we're seeing with Derek Carr where, he's been great, but the play calling is assisting him. Geno's getting no support from the run game, from the play calling, and he's going out and winning games. So I have Geno at 3.
I would probably add him.
Yeah. So at number 3, this is a guy who I'm surprised didn't make either of your guys' list. It's Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray through 2 games, he has 428 yards. He has 4 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He has 7 big-time throws, which is first in the league. He has a 13.2 big-time throw percentage when the next highest in the league through 2 games is 7.7. And that was the question for Kyler after week 1 was he's not pushing the ball down the field. And then in week 2, I mean, he was by far, to me, the best quarterback in week 2.
Perfect passer.
Yeah, I personally don't, it wasn't even close. I mean, that game was over in the first quarter, and he just played a perfect game. We're seeing what he could do extending plays with his leg. He's averaging over 11 yards per carry, which I think his career high before that was 6.5 or something like that. So he's been elite in the run game, and he's pushing the ball down the field better than, and we saw that one play where he scrambled around and threw it to Michael Wilson and turned around before he even caught the ball. That's just aura, that's playing with confidence. And Kyler's been a top 3 quarterback for me, easy so far. At number 2, I have Josh Allen. Not much has to be said here. Kind of how Kyler's in here, kind of really just based off his week 2 performance for me. It was that good that he had to be in here. Josh Allen is kind of in here this high just based off his week 1 performance. I don't think anyone in the NFL is, I mentioned it with Geno, putting the team on his back. I don't think anyone has had to put on a carry job just like Josh Allen had to do in week 1. It wasn't much in week 2, but they were smoking them out. He didn't have to do much. But in week 1, he put the team on his back and single-handedly won them the game. We know the talent that Josh Allen is. He had to be up here, at least in the top 3. And number 1, we mentioned it. It's Derek Carr. The thing that moves me for Derek Carr is the efficiency. We mentioned it. He's only doing this on 39 pass attempts. To be the number 1 scoring offense the way they are and have as many touchdowns and scoring drives as they do on only 39 pass attempts is just unreal efficiency. He's making every throw. That ball was on a string, 70 yards to Rashid Shaheed. That was nutty. So Derek Carr, he's playing with confidence. To me, he's been the best quarterback in the league so far.
Yeah. Looking back at it now, I definitely would replace Sam Darnold with Geno and maybe put him above CJ. But,
Stroud, it just hasn't... He's been good. And I don't think he's really made any mistakes. He just hasn't been... And I guess they haven't really needed him to, but he hasn't,
been super.
It hasn't been, very superhero-y, where, Baker, it's man. Baker's putting that shit on. Geno was putting that shit on. Kyler last week put that shit on.
So, my thing with Kyler was... The week 1 performance was so underwhelming that I had to weigh both weeks at least a little bit. So it was week 1 was so underwhelming that I was just all right, week 2 was a perfect passer rating. Week 1 was not his best performance ever.
I looked
I'm
at
gonna
it
meet
like week 1, he was really good in the first half when they were up, though. So, like, in reality, like 75%.
He said 75%.
Yeah,
Right?
it's not 50, it's 75.
Yeah,
so.
that's fair. Geno, you're 100% right. I completely misstepped on that one. Geno Smith has been awesome. He's been great. The emergence of JSN last game, too, that was huge
so
if
good
that's
to
a
see,
real
bro.
deal. I could tell you any JSN owners in Dynasty are probably doing backflips after that game because
I tried so hard, bro. I tried so hard, man.
Yeah.
And it's done now.
yeah, it's over.
I know.
It's over. The JSN train is fully taken off now. That is completely done and over with. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was we were talking about carry jobs. Baker has done that. Baker did that. Carr hasn't really had to carry, but he's been so goddamn efficient that it's hard to leave him off.
I was like, what is he on pace for? So I paced out the yards. He's on pace for like 3,800 yards, which I'm like, oh, that's not crazy.
Yeah.
But 42 touchdowns. Like, it's insane. Baker.
And his pace on like pass attempts is
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
like the lowest in a season of all time
I'm like
history
3,800
of any quarterback.
I'm like 3,800 on with 42 fucking touchdowns. It's insane.
Yeah, he's
Baker, one stat I do have, the Tampa Bay Bucks rushing stats. Rachaad White has 25 carries for 49 yards. Baker has 8 carries for 55 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the best passer and runner on the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And they're 2-0, and he was dealing against the Lions. Yeah.
Yeah, Baker and Geno for me was kind of splitting hairs. I just think Geno's low. As bad as it's been for the Bucs run game, I think Geno's been asked to like carry a little bit more. So maybe like performance-wise, Baker might be a little bit better. But just the task at hand, I think Geno's had a little bit more on his plate. So that was why I went that way.
You talked about like the superhero moments, like CJ's throw to Nico on third
It was huge. No,
was one of the craziest throws I've ever seen in my life. That thing was on a rope. Only Nico had any shot at catching that football.
no, he's
That
been
was
great.
unbelievable.
Stroud and Sam Darnold were. I said in the chat I was debating between
Sam
fucking
yeah.
Geno, Baker, Stroud, and Sam Darnold,
I'd put
which is
Geno
just
over Sam
nutty.
for sure.
So-
you're 100% right on that one.
Question I'll ask is, we all had Josh Allen, right?
Yes.
So besides Josh Allen, is there anyone you see that is still on this list at the end of your season?
CJ Stroud on my list.
Okay.
I think Kyler could stay in there. I think
Top
Kyler
five
could
quarterback?
stay in there.
Yeah, okay.
CJ
Yeah,
Stroud for
it
sure.
probably would.
I think if the Seahawks want any chance of being a legitimate team, Geno has to stay on this list.
I completely agree
Yeah,
with
yeah, I
that.
mean,
So
But
I don't know
can't
if
see
he
that
will.
being
Yeah, I don't know if
sustainable.
he will, but if the Seahawks are going to be a good team, it will be because Geno's
I want
playing
to see
like
them
a
play
top
a good
five
team because their
quarterback.
defense has looked really good.
It has,
And
but they
with
played
Kent,
two
like, yeah, they
fake-ass
play, that's
teams.
why I'm saying, like, let me
Just
see
the
them
O-line,
battle
man.
tested. Yeah,
That's
The
the problem.
O-line's
Yeah, the
That's
O-line's
so
real
bad,
bad.
bro.
Their D-line has looked great.
Their
As I
O-line's
said,
probably
it's
been
deep.
the worst in the league so far.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
What I say, they were 31st in both
Yep.
pass and
Which
run win
has to
block.
equate to
Yeah,
being the worst in the NFL.
Yeah,
Like
so.
if you're the second worst in both, unless some team is there with 232s.
yeah.
Ooh.
that's why it's like like they haven't played the best of teams either, but those teams have played pretty good in those
Right.
games. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The Pats are
like,
going to be close. to every team-
Geno
almost every
has had to like really fucking put that shit on.
team. And the Broncos still. I mean,
Yeah, the Pats are going
Steelers
to be like
another one that's
Pats are going to be
rough, but-
annoying to play against
Yes.
all year.
As will the Broncos most likely. And Bo Nix sucks.
Broncos suck.
The Broncos defense is good.
That game was brutal. The Steelers Broncos
was
game.
gross.
Oh my god!
I didn't watch a second
bro.
of it, but
Shout
I saw.
out Fields, baby.
I know. I was.
What was
I
the
don't.
final score? 16.
Yeah, maybe
13-3?
16-10, maybe. I don't know.
No, I
Maybe
think it was
they scored
13-6.
touchdowns?
And I was like,
Oh.
yep, that's typical Steelers fashion.
Yeah, I don't know
baby.
why I even had Red Zone on because it was that game, it was the Cardinals blowout, and there was the
We
Chiefs
had
game. I don't know
10
why I
games
didn't
in the
have.
1 o'clock window.
Yeah.
And then 3 in the 4.
But next week it's different. Next week I think it's like 5 games in the 4 o'clock window.
Beautiful.
That's what we need. The 4
Next
o'clock,
week it's 5
Thank
games in the
God.
4 o'clock window, and we get 2 Monday games,
dude,
which
the
is
4 o'clock
cool.
window has been. It's like last year. It was that.
It's
The 1 o'clock
dead
window
ass
was electric.
melatonin.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
The
bro.
Chiefs Bengals game was
They
great.
putting
want
you straight
they
to bed.
want us all to take a nap during the 4 o'clock games after we eat dinner to pump up and deposit all our money into FanDuel for that Sunday night football game. They want us to be well rested
I
for
saw that
Sunday
this
night
past
football.
weekend
Bro.
was like the
For a
best
snooze
Vegas
fest.
weekend they've ever
They
had.
dominated,
Vegas
bro.
killed it this weekend.
Vegas
Everybody got fucked.
dominated this weekend, bro. Like, worse than the Saints whooped the Cowboys and the Panthers combined, bro. They dominated this
They
weekend.
took all my money. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
All
there
the
was so
favorites
many
were losing,
upsets. Yeah.
There was no spreads that were basically getting.
But not the Chargers. Not the Chargers.
Yeah, not the Chargers.
Come on, Trunks.
Not
he
the
was afraid
Chargers.
of the Panthers. Man, he's like, I don't know, the
Fucking-
Panthers might win. Boy, I don't know about Harbaugh.
He doesn't know about Harbaugh.
That
Bro, you
was
see-
crazy
you see-
that you did that.
You seen Harbaugh's interviews?
Yes,
Bro.
He's electric.
When he was talking about J.K. Dobbins, and he was like, yeah, on one play, J.K. it was really cool. J.K. did a backflip into the end zone. I can never master doing a backflip. And he goes on like a minute tangent about how he can't do a backflip, and some guys can do backflips. He's amazing.
He's already changed the culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I was crying last night at O'Sleazy, bro. He thought that shit was the end of the world, that he missed his parlay by like 3 legs.
3 legs, bro.
It was like, bro.
Nah, but like they were all, he
They
was
were
so
all
close.
mad
though.
Yeah, but
close.
dude,
he
Like,
was so close, but so far.
You
yeah.
missed by a passing touchdown.
Bro, he's in the group
But that
chat
got
with
called
all
back,
of
to
us.
be
Did
fair.
he think it was that simple that you make a few bets for week 1 of the NFL season and then week 2 you hit a $10 for $500 8-leg parlay? No, bro. You gotta
He's
lose
seen
something
the
like
struggles,
that. Yeah.
though.
They want you to lose something like that.
Bro, we've had like 13 leg parlays missed by 2 yards.
Our Super Bowl one was it crazy off, or was only off
Mine
by a
hit.
couple? No, the one like when we went out, like 15 of us
Oh my
put a leg
god,
on.
yeah. I think
Oh,
ours
we were
was
pretty close. It was
Yeah.
pretty close.
Ours was pretty
It
close.
was pretty close.
We asked everybody for a leg, right? Yeah, ours was pretty
It was like a
pretty
15
close.
leg parlay.
Yo, I hate gambling. I'm so happy I gave it up. It honestly makes my Sundays a little bit better.
Yeah.
It really
All right.
does.
I'll ask this question. I don't have much to say here, so I don't know if you guys do. The Baltimore Ravens, they lost to the Raiders in a thrilling, exciting game that maybe we could have analyzed, but we're short for time here. We got to go to sleep soon, so we're not going to analyze the game. But are we concerned at all about the Ravens being 0-2?
No more than I mean, we've seen the Ravens do this. They lose games that they're not supposed to all the time. Like there's that graphic going around of like showing them up big with not a lot of time left, and it's like the Ravens lost all these games. I mean, losing to the Raiders when you're up 10 in the fourth quarter it has to be cause for concern. I mean, you get the Chiefs week 1 and it's luck of the draw. They lose to the Super Bowl favorites, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you gotta hang with the big dogs in the AFC, and if you're losing to the Raiders, you're getting cut up by Gardner Minshew. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, that's my concern. You got pieced up by Minshew. And granted, you got pieced up by what can be 2 of the best weapons in the NFL right now. Brock Bowers and Devontae
Dude, that
Adams.
sideline catch by Devontae was
Yeah, Devontae was dogging.
Yeah.
It's wild. He's still that damn good. Like, he really is still that damn good. Am I concerned about the Ravens? Yeah. Their O-line is not as good as it was last season. Their defense looks like it is going to take a step back without Mike McDonald. And I am concerned. I still think they're going to be a playoff team. That's not my concern. But
oh yeah,
are they
that's not enough. For the
built better
Ravens.
for the playoffs this year than they were last? No.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the problem.
yeah, I guess I'm concerned for that. I wasn't concerned because I guess I didn't really have Super Bowl expectations for this team. I thought pretty clearly they got worse this year compared to last year, so they were pretty clearly going to take a drop off there. And I didn't really, they were Super Bowl contenders last year, but it's Rick Mahomes, so you're not a real Super Bowl contender when you have to play that guy. But they definitely got worse. I still think this team should be a playoff team. They probably will win the division. I'd probably still predict them to win the division even at 0-2.
So I was going to ask
I don't know if
the other team, the Bengals.
The Bengals, we should be concerned. I
Yes,
said
I
all
agree.
that
I'm sick
last
of the
week.
Bengals. I know you two are too. I'm sick of them.
Yeah, I don't really have anything.
We're
to
holding
say.
them to the same regard that they were at 3 years ago.
Yes.
And it's like it's time to like it was,
A
it was
lifetime
3 years
has
ago. Man.
happened
It was 3
between
years
now
ago,
and
man.
then,
Like
yes.
let it go.
Yeah,
They're not the same team.
yeah. The Bengals, I am concerned
Yeah.
with. I said that all last week. The Ravens, for me, like this is still going to be a playoff team that, if everything breaks right for them, can go all the way to the AFC Championship game and lose to Mahomes.
Yep.
Sure.
And that's
100%.
exactly how I viewed them before the season. So
I did.
I guess that's
but-
not why I'm concerned with them. But I still think they're exactly who I thought they were going into.
When
the
I say
season.
like their expectation is to be a Super Bowl contender,
Yes.
and I don't think they are. So that's why I would say I'm concerned. But yeah, if your expectation is
The O-line's definitely been like worse than we more of a raise for concern than we thought it was going in. So
Yeah, I would agree. What?
Oh, Nick asks if we want to talk about Jamar's unsportsmanlike penalty.
I like people when I saw him like for lack of a better word yell at Joe Burrow, I was like people are going to take that and like drag like Joe was literally just trying to save him from getting a penalty, and Jamar was just in the heat of the moment was like, no, this is fucking bullshit. Like he definitely wasn't cursing out Joe Burrow or anything.
Yeah.
And even if he was, it's like heat of the moment.
Yeah, it's not.
What did he even do that got him the penalty?
He thought it was a hip drop tackle.
He did.
Oh, and he got up. He yelled at the ref, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Got
you
up,
don't do that. Like,
screamed at the ref.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Like,
Yeah. Doubled down. Yeah.
yeah, and the ref gave you some leeway, and you
know
kept
what
it up,
is,
and you got
though?
flagged.
It
Like,
was
you don't
just
do that.
He's frustrated with a lot.
Yeah, it was a combination
I know,
of everything
yeah.
because they kind of, believe it or not, they kind of all go hand in hand because he's upset about not getting his money. What rule did they put in this offseason? Banning the hip drop tackle. Why did they ban the hip drop tackle? Because people were getting injured. If he thought he got hip drop tackled, he thought he could potentially get
There
injured.
hasn't been a single hip drop.
There
Right.
has.
Oh, there has.
They're not one
Not called,
There
but they
has-
fined
right.
But there
after.
have
Right.
been bad ones.
Right.
That
No,
have
no,
not
I'm
been
saying like they
called.
haven't been called.
Right.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
that's what I was
Right.
saying.
So now this guy's getting tackled in a way that supposedly just got banned because dudes are getting injured. A guy who doesn't have his money in a game that he's trying to win.
Right.
So
And
it's
isn't getting the ball in.
Right. So it's a combination, and he's getting not just not getting the ball. He's getting fucking locked up by top 5 corner Trent McDuffie. He's getting his shit fucking clamped for real. He got his shit fucking locked up. He was in fucking prison. Let's be fucking
the
for real,
Chiefs
bro.
Did
Trent McDuffie locked that ass
the
up, bro.
Chiefs are so intelligent with their defensive game plans? They pushed all their coverage to Jamar Chase, as they should have, as any team.
And Trent
should.
McDuffie locked that ass
Brother,
up.
stop it,
Bro.
They literally bracket covered Chase and said, Andre
Bro,
Yosova,
Trent McDuffie had
whatever the fuck it
many
is.
plays like in one-on-one where he had his ass in straps, especially the one on the goal line.
I think there
that
was
stands
one
out.
Mike
down the
Gesicki
sideline that he broke
fucking-
up.
Yeah.
My remembering.
And he was tackling too. When Jamar did get catches, he didn't get shit after the catch, which makes fuck Jamar Chase, bro. Bro, that's Trent
Was Terry
McDuffie's son,
even
bro.
playing, bro. Was Terry even playing?
That's Trent McDuffie's son, man.
Nah, it's I'm concerned about the Ravens. I'm heavily concerned about the Bengals. I saw in the show doc we had the Jags as well. Yeah,
Been sick of that shit too.
yeah, I agree. And I'm the biggest Trevor Lawrence
I mean, do
guy.
you guys want to skip the segment or?
Oh,
What, Jags?
I don't even
Yeah.
want to talk about them.
I was
I
gonna say
don't
one
even wanna
thing.
talk
I
about
like
that.
just Trevor Lawrence gets the Justin Herbert treatment, where like he can do no wrong.
Yeah, I have
And
notes ready to rip him apart.
I'm gonna say what I say, and that'll segue into you ripping him apart. So it'll be perfect. Trevor Lawrence gets, like I just said, Trevor Lawrence gets the Justin Herbert treatment. Everyone wants to blame his receivers drop the ball. Yeah, they do. No shit. Like that's the statistics are there. The film is there. I think he leads the league in catchable passes dropped at like 16% or something. I saw that somewhere. But
Yeah,
you know, you want to mention him with the you want to mention Trevor Lawrence with the elite quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, when he had all those receivers dropping passes, no one wanted to talk about that. Everyone was real quiet about that. But what did Lamar Jackson do? He came out the next year and won the MVP with the same guys, maybe even worse, as his receivers. Trevor Lawrence is just you want to put him up there with these elite quarterbacks, and in the same way where last year when people said Brock Purdy is, we would say Brock Purdy is a great quarterback, and it was like what 5-6 weeks in we did our quarter season awards or something. We all had him as our MVP, and people were in our comments and comments all over the world saying Brock Purdy's not a great player. He's just in a great situation. He's got Shanahan. He's got all these weapons. He's got this and that. For the same, and then we get up here and what do we say? Well, he's in the situation. We're going to judge him based on what we're seeing. Trevor Lawrence might not be in the greatest situation. He's not in a Shanahan offense or this and that, but we have to judge him based on what we're seeing. He hasn't accomplished shit. He's had one really good season, and then they came back against Brandon Staley, who wanted to lose a playoff game that he was leading, and they've won one playoff game.
That was such a moment, man. I hit because I live bet the Jags in that game. I hit a lick, man.
That
was lit. We were sitting in Ryan Simmermeyer's basement, bro. Me,
even
Ortiz,
crazier.
Gallo. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I
three
just
picks in the first half.
I'm just not with this. Trevor Lawrence is the elite of the elite. We see him make boneheaded interceptions and just bad throws. There was in this game that they lost, there was Brian Thomas was cutting across the middle of the end zone, wide open for a touchdown, and Trevor scrambles left and goes out of bounds. I'm not here for it.
No, yeah, I completely agree. And listen, there's some voodoo magic that curses the Jaguars. I say the Chiefs have voodoo magic that's in their favor. The Jaguars have the opposite. The football gods just do not want this team to be good. And a lot of the same trends from last year carried over. I mean, they're bottom 4 in run blocking grade according to PFF. They have the second worst rushing EPA per play. You mentioned it. They're still first in the league in drops, which is a trend that carried over from last year. So, there's things that go wrong for this team. Travis Etienne fumbled on the goal line last week. There's things that go wrong for this team. But like you mentioned, Tom, Trevor Lawrence was drafted as a generational quarterback prospect. And what do generational quarterback prospects do? They overcome. Like you mentioned with Lamar, they overcome and they elevate. Brock Purdy. Yeah, he's in a great system. Yeah, he might be a system quarterback, but guess what? Whether you like it or not, he elevates the goddamn system.
Yep.
He just happens to be in a great system. Josh Allen elevates his system too. He may have not have been in a great system the past few years, but he still elevated that shit. Patrick Mahomes elevates the system. CJ Stroud elevates the system. Jordan fucking Love. Elevate Matt Stafford. Kyle. I could name a laundry list of guys. Fuck it. Tua Tagovailoa elevates the system. The Dolphins have a system in place, and guess what? Tua Tagovailoa elevates it and makes that system perform to the best of its ability. Trevor Lawrence does not do that. When the going gets tough, he crumbles. When the team needs him in dire situation, he crumbles and doesn't produce. Yes, for the first 3 quarters, sometimes the run blocking isn't there. Sometimes the receivers drop balls, but there are numerous, and it's the same thing with Justin Herbert. That's why I was always so hard on Justin Herbert. Despite all that shit, there's always a chance for these guys to go out, and I'm pointing at the Justin Herbert Funko. That's why it's like we're having a conversation, me and Herbert, but he's really like staring at me. But
It's like, I hear you, bro.
when the team needs it, he folds, and there's always a chance. There even was against the Browns. There's a chance to go down and be the hero. And instead of being the despite the loss man that has the stats, what Herbert always was, what Trevor Lawrence could be. Let me rephrase. Instead of being the despite the situation man, he pulled out a win. He's the despite the loss man. Despite the loss, look at Trevor Lawrence's stats. And that's just not good enough. That's just not good enough. And just some stuff I mentioned, it's self-inflicted. It's when the team needs him most. The Jaguars this season have scored a touchdown on 3 of their 7 red zone opportunities, which is a 42.9%. They scored a touchdown of one of 4 red zone drives against the Browns. And so, red zone, that's when you got to put the ball in. That's when you got to be great. It's a short field. Some guys aren't built for red zone offense. The greats, the generational prospects are. And then on third down, this team is 5 for 19th so far this year on third down, which is a 26.3 conversion percentage, 28th in the NFL. On third and medium, which is 4 to 6 yards to go, they're fucking 0 for 5, which is last in the NFL. Third and medium, 3rd and 4. Those are easy ones. You should convert 3rd and 4s. Maybe 3rd and 17s are tough. 3rd and 4s, you should convert those. You should have something for those. You being a generational quarterback should make something happen on those, because those are the ones you got to extend the drives. You can't give them the ball back. And then Trevor Lawrence, just as a passer on third down, is 3 for 14 so far this year, which is a 21.4 completion percentage, which is dead last in the NFL. Bryce Young, who we just shitted on for 30 minutes, has a 33.3% completion percentage on third down.
Oh. If you're below Bryce Young in something, that's not.
So, all in all, like we both mentioned, Tom, yeah, the Jags have problems. Like, the roster isn't great. But some guys, when the team needs it, go and make a play. And more times than not, when the Jaguars need it, Trevor Lawrence does not go and make a play. And it's a big cause for concern. Trevor Lawrence, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm not saying he doesn't have the potential to be great. I still think he has that in him, but it's been some years now, and this is, what's he going into? Year 4? He's in year 4 now? Year 5?
I think he's in
year 5. This is...
year 4.
You're for it. This is normally about when guys start to, really put it together and really, put on and have that true. Not superstars don't need to break out, but that true, like, I'm really here and I'm really a top dog. And it just looks like it's been a backward trajectory for Trev since he won that playoff game. And that's a real cause for concern, especially when there is all these holes with the roster where it's not the greatest roster on paper. And you kind of need your generational quarterback to kind of offset those things. And he's just, the past 2 years, he just hasn't done that. So it's concerning. It's something to monitor. I'm not giving up on the guy yet. I'm just pretty much just stating facts, just stating what it is. But it's definitely something to monitor. And Trevor Lawrence, like truthers and fans and believers, should be pretty concerned right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been the biggest Trevor Lawrence guy on this podcast. I've defended him over and over and over again. I'm done. I'm sure you guys were expecting me to come over here and be like, yeah, it's this.
A little bit,
no,
but not too.
No,
because even you can see it. But like,
I'm done. I'm not defending him anymore. Like, you're right. He doesn't come up big in the biggest moments. He makes key mistakes. Of course, there's been drops. The worst in the league. That does need to be stressed. But in the end, generational quarterbacks get over all of that. And I'm going to bring up a name, and people are going to be like, why are you saying that? Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was drafted. Exactly. Why am I saying that? Andrew Luck was one of those generational quarterback prospects. And then who was the next one that everybody looked at and said, oh, this is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck? Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was that guy. Andrew Luck stepped into one of the worst situations in, honestly, the entire NFL. And you could argue it was one of the worst situations for an NFL first overall pick. And guess what he did? Came right in, dealt with one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive lines in all of football. One, at the time, really legitimate receiver that he turned into a full-blown superstar in T.Y. Hilton. And Andrew Luck turned out to be the guy that it didn't matter what you put around him. He was going to elevate a franchise to at least the playoff contender. He went out, he won some playoff games with a terrible roster, and was one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in a bad situation. And we expected the same of Trevor Lawrence, and I just can't feel that way anymore. You're not Andrew Luck. I will not hold you to the standard of being a generational prospect. I will hold you to the standard of, at this point, being an above-average NFL quarterback. And I haven't consistently seen that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was looking at, like, the list of quarterbacks. I think I put him around 15 or 16. Like, and I don't know. Does he? And that could even, and that's without guys like Derek Carr keeps this up for this whole season. If Geno Smith is still balling this season, like, he can move even further down that list. And that's not who they want or need Trevor Lawrence to be. So, yeah, I'm glad we're all on the same page about that, though, because there are some fucking Trevor. Like, I think people went harder for Herbert because people still throw Herbert in top 5 conversations and all. Like,
back Herbert.
And I don't know about that, but like,
back.
it's a different conversation. So, but there are people who go hard for Trevor Lawrence, and all they use is that drop thing. Like, oh, his receivers drop balls bad, and I get that. And it's, first of all, like, that percentage I talked about is on catchable throws. Now, who's deciding what's a catchable throw and what isn't? You know what I mean? So, it's all, yeah, it's too much for Trevor Lawrence for me.
Yeah. That was, yeah.
I needed to get that out. I really was bothering me the past
few.
I'm like,
that, man.
That's why I wanted to add them to the topic list, because it just needed to be said.
No, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I picked them to go to the playoffs. I'm done. I'm sick of the Jags.
Fuck them.
Until proven otherwise, I'm sick of the Jags. So that's I think we covered everything now.
Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah. We got a lot out.
I mean, yeah, honestly, this is one of the better days of my, like, we shit on Trevor Lawrence. We talked up Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield. Like, it really doesn't get better than that, to be honest.
Shit on Bryce Young.
And shit on Bryce Young. You know?
Oh, God.
Doesn't really get better than that.
Yeah, it was.
Saquon choked the game. I'm doing all right.
Yep. After having a 3-touchdown week 1 performance, my emotions are like this right now.
Bro, it has nothing to do with anything. I went 1-5 in fantasy this week. I went 5-1 week 1. I went 1-5 this week. Yeah.
You're 1-1 in every league?
1-1 in every single league, yeah.
Nice.
Actually, no, I'm lying. I'm 2-0 in one of them.
Nice.
So I'm 0-2 in one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, we'll
Happens to
bounce
the best
back.
of us,
Yeah, we'll
man.
bounce back. I'm not worried.
How did you do in fantasy this week? Oh, God.
I'm just not having fun. It's just I'm not even that my teams lose, just the rooting against myself and shit.
I'm cutting. I've said it time and time again. I'm cutting my leagues in half. I'm in
like
6
didn't
leagues. I
have a
can't do
fun
it.
time this weekend. Obviously, I say it all the time. I work Sunday, so I normally watch the games at work, but we had shit going on at work, so it was busy. So barely watched the 1 o'clock games. At halftime in the 1 o'clock games, people at Hobrow made me turn off the red zone and put on the Giant game, which was pretty frustrating.
Gross.
Yeah, it's just we had the Jets and Giants games on the TV. I was just really frustrated at that because
At 25.
I go to Hobrow to watch the red zone and I
Right.
didn't get to do that, so I had to rewatch. I rewatched every fucking game from this weekend, all the
Jesus.
condensed
Yeah,
games.
unfortunately,
Some of them I
don't
didn't
have
pay.
time
Like
to
I'm
do
not
that.
gonna lie, some of them
I
were
would
just
have
on.
gouged my eyes out.
Some
to
of them
be
were
honest.
on in the background while I was scrolling on TikTok,
Right,
but
right.
they're only half. Every one of them was watched on my account, just because that was like the least amount of football I've watched. And then, like I said, the 4 o'clock games were a fucking snooze fest. The Sunday night game was a fucking snooze fest. Last night's game was pretty much a snooze fest until the last
2 minutes.
minute.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And then like I said, I didn't watch the 1 o'clock games. I finished the event at Hobrow. You know, it's the 4 o'clock games, so as people leave, I put the red zone back on as I'm closing up. I'm checking my fantasy. Marv scores fucking twice. I'm hyped. Then I check in BTB, which I consider one of my, like, probably my most important league that I really want to win since Dynasty I'm tanking. So BTB, like, for bragging rights purposes, like, that's the one I really, really want. I'm hyped that Marv scores 2 touchdowns. I'm getting fucking 60 injected into my skull by Ortiz with Marvin Harrison and James Conner. So I fucking lose. So it's like, yeah, I'm hyped Marvin Harrison went off for my teams that I'm purposely trying to fucking lose. And then in the other fucking redraft league, Flynn's league, I have fucking Evan Ingram, who got
He got hurt in pregame
right.
warm-ups.
He got ruled out when my
Most
phone,
Evan Ingram thing
right
ever.
when my phone was away, and I'm fucking finding out what martinis these ladies want while we play fucking what's on the fucking limitless drunk brunch drink package. I'm trying to explain to them that we have red and white sangria while Evan Ingram's getting ruled out, so I couldn't take him out. Bro, I had no idea. So I'm versing Flynn in that league. He has Trey McBride, so Trey McBride picked up James Conner's fumble.
Yep, he did.
Yes, he
Yeah, he
did.
did.
So I text Flynn as that happens. I'm like, wow. And I look at the score. I don't scroll down and see the tight end. So I still don't even know that Evan Ingram didn't play. I see like he's projected to beat me by like 1 point. So I text him. I'm like, wow, like of course that fuck shit happens during our slobber knocker. Bro responds with, yeah, thanks for making it fair. Since I started Keon Coleman, who put up a goose egg, he said, thanks for leaving Evan Ingram in your lineup. I was like, wait, what? And then I went and checked, and I was like, yeah, I didn't do that on purpose. He's like, yeah, bro, you didn't know he was hurt? Like, was he practicing this week? I was like, I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, like he practiced, right? Like, did I miss? Like, I'm like, I fucking sit there all week and study this
Right,
shit. I'm
yeah,
like, did
yeah.
I miss something? Like, was he not practicing? And then I seen bro hurt himself in fucking pregame warmups. I lost by 6 points. I had a 0 out of my tight end. So
Did you have a backup on your roster?
no. But I would have picked someone up.
Yeah,
like
I know,
Mike
I know.
Gesicki was there.
Schumacher may
Shit,
have
Hunter,
been there.
Hunter Henry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was guys there.
Yeah.
Like I would have picked someone
Those
up
two
if I
the
had
top
caught it.
performers were on
We're
waivers.
on waivers. Yeah.
And like they have the green plus there, so like I could have just picked them up. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been like fighting for anyone.
is how
If
it
I
works.
knew bro was out, I would have got someone. So it was just
Bro, I lost by 9 in my most important league, and I had Smitty and Pitts playing last night. Smitty had a great game,
Yeah, he did.
and then Kyle Pitts just did shit. I'm like, bro, I know Smitty will have a good game because AJ Brown's out. I just need you to give me like 12.
bro.
fear
I
we-
wanted
fear we
that
may
shit
have
against
missed.
Slab last night too, bro. Like I'm trying to lose there, but I
Bro.
wanted that shit so bad, bro.
It's so funny because the whole chat wanted it. The whole chat wanted Lav to lose. You have no idea. Like,
Bro.
everyone in the chat starts texting, like, oh my God, please get the field goal. Please get the field goal.
Bro.
We wanted Lav to lose that game so bad.
That would have been poetic,
bad.
bro. It would have been poetic.
It would have been amazing.
Fuck
Especially
Lav,
because he
bro.
He's someone that just refuses to make trades, hoards every player on his roster, and just has not. He's the only one in the league, I think, to this point that has not yet made the playoffs. Only one in the Dynasty League that has not yet made the playoffs.
That's insane.
Yeah. And we're in year 4.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
No, he's been. He drafted a team for like a rebuild, and he's still rebuilding.
Yep. Yeah.
Like his team is all young players.
8
but
receivers, and like he refuses to trade any of them.
That's like my biggest fear with like it's can't be fun if you just suck every year. Like I know you're tanking, and you said you like it's miserable looking at you.
Oh yeah.
Like my team in Dynasty sucks. I fucking hate it.
Kid Lav, like granted he made out. I was looking at it the fucking yesterday. Like granted he made out with a haul, but like what does that haul do if you? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. What does that haul do if you're just fucking losing every year? But Lav had Jamar. He traded Ayuk, DJ Moore, and 4 first-round picks to Matty Gay traded that for Jamar. And it's like, yeah, Lav made out great. He got all those picks. But I would have, for Lav's sake, he probably would have been better off keeping Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I ended up winning a championship right after that trade.
Lav probably would have been better off, even though he got 4 first-round picks for him, he would have been better off keeping Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild because, like, after making that trade, like now I look at it and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like my team, if I had all of that, like the trades I could have made. But like Jason every time tells me, he's like, bro, what were you going to do with all that anyway?
That's what
he's like, you turned all that into
all the picks
arguably the number 1 receiver in Dynasty. Like why, like what does it mean for you to have all these picks to do all this if you're not going to turn it into something? Yeah. So like, of anyone, like I was able
Lav
to.
has
I had
a dog shit team that could barely compete with me, and he just has Kyle Pitts, JSN, Lad McConkey, all these. No, Dalton's in his lineup, but all these dudes on his fucking bench that like people would want. And he just won't fucking trade no one unless he's like.
He benched George Pickens this week. Started DJ Moore and Brandon Ayuk. Benched George Pickens, and he texted me. He goes, yeah, I'm never benching George Pickens again. I go, bro, make a fucking trade.
Yeah, really?
Like you're
one
killing
thing
yourself.
Like people will just keep, even in redraft, like people will just keep a guy on their bench, and it's like, yeah, you might lose the trade, quote unquote, but like if this guy's just gonna waste away on your bench, like go get a running back or something that might not technically be worth it. But
depth is only important if you have the starting lineup to back it up. Like for me, my team is deep as hell. But, like, I'm okay with guys going off on my bench because guys are also going off.
Your team sucks. You're fucked.
Oh, God.
I went into the season knowing that
it was your one last ride. They're filming a documentary about your team.
And it has really come down to nothing now. Like, you are...
Don't worry, Trunks. We're going to collude.
You're in a situation, brother.
It's perfect. Your team's ready to dismantle when I'm ready to win. Yeah, we're going to collude. And I'm going to...
Pittman's tough. That's cooked now.
Pittman's bad.
That's cooked now. AJ's
Anthony
hurt.
Richardson sucks.
Well, yeah, that's the
problem. No, Anthony Richardson like literally sucks at football.
Sucks, bro.
AJ's hurt. Justin Jefferson is dealing with something now. You got to be scared shitless about that.
Dude, I was watching that game last night, and I'm like on my phone on Instagram or something, and I hear AJ Brown on the interview, and I'm like this, and he goes, yeah, I think I'm going to miss a few weeks. I go, what? Where the fuck did that come from? How are you just breaking that to me? What the fuck?
Yeah,
Injuries suck.
You have no depth, which was your problem, and you knew that going in, but it's okay. This is what happens
when guys don't play the goddamn preseason, man.
Yeah.
I was saying that to some guys
Soft
at the bar
tissue injuries, especially.
Yeah.
Soft tissue
like these hamstring injuries and shit that are gonna
like
linger
you have a
like,
million picks, and I'm sure after this season you're saying fuck the rebuild. Like I'm done. I'm trading everything to start like having a great team. So, you know, it's fun. But like at the same, I loved rebuilding.
Oh no, like your team's going to be able to compete with me, but for everyone else, like they've this year and next year to try and win because after that, like it runs through me and I'll say you because your team's loaded. But
my team is
like I'm going to make sure that league fucking run. Like I'm not going to fuck this up. Like the league is going to run through me.
All right,
I don't, bro.
The league runs through me for as long as I want it to.
I have Marv. I have a bunch of young receivers, but I have Marv. I'm getting the first overall pick this year. I'm probably going to get it. No, Trust, I'm gonna lose it,
tank.
Bro. Me and Chunks are separated by like 0.14 points right now for the first overall pick. We're like dead ass in the most insane, and Gallo's like right behind us too, and we all have our own.
He has no picks.
No, Gallo has his pick this year.
His pick this year.
Yeah, so we all have our picks this year, so we're all like tanking for it. So it's definitely, but nah, Bro, I got Bucky Irving starting for me, bro. I'll figure it out, bro. I'll throw Bryce Young in there if I have to, bro. No, but then I have 5 of them things in 2026. Like, I'm good, bro. I got it.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Dean offered me Keon Coleman for my first round pick today, like this year.
Bro.
So I sent him back a 3rd for Keon Coleman.
He always does this. Dean has the worst. Dean and Lab, the 2 worst at
Nah, I
trading.
think he was just trying some shit. He didn't think I was going to trade away the first overall pick for Keon Coleman, bro.
You never know with Dean. That's the thing. You never know with Dean.
Yo, and they're all clowning me in our Dynasty League.
I know.
Joe Cruz said yesterday, he said his boys texted him like, what does Chris think this is? Does he actually think he's doing something? These guys that he's picking up aren't on shit. Because I pick up all of the injury replacements and I just keep putting them on the trade block.
Putting
You're
Jordan
getting
Mason.
picks out of those guys,
I
bro.
know. Every time like
Mason on the trade
news,
block, he goes,
yeah,
who wants, bro? Who wants me?
every time news came out about McCaffrey, it was like McCaffrey might miss time. I put him on the trade block. Then he fucking cooked week 1, put him on the trade block. Then McCaffrey went on IR. I took him off and put him back on. Someone's going to trade for him, bro.
And then you have Kareem Hunt.
I have Kareem Hunt. I have P. Ryan. Jordan Whittington.
Jeez, bro. Kid's got every single replacement.
Yo, I'm going to win the league.
It's just
Not this year.
it really is like, what is it all like? It doesn't matter if you have a bunch of picks, you have all these players, and it's just you need to turn it all into one big thing.
Yeah.
So
not what you're
Man,
doing.
I wanted it against Lav, though. I would have
Chris
been
is
okay.
captain. I'm running this fucking league.
I would have been okay with losing out on the first overall pick if it meant beating Lav. Like, those were the only circumstances.
Lav deserves to lose those games.
I would
really
have,
does.
bro, I would have talked
Especially Lav.
Lav would have got, like, probably an hour straight of me going in that group chat, bro. Like, I would.
win. I just gotta make playoffs. My team just gotta go off.
Are you
Yo,
making a trade?
for
What's
Ty
the plan?
Chandler, bro.
Trade for Ty Chandler.
Trade with me, bro. Give me that first. I have so much on my bench, bro. You have 1 first remaining, I think. Do you? Let's make a trade, bro.
I have 2 firsts.
Contender can help out contender right now, bro. Why? I have.
Last ride. I'm not trading my picks.
Why?
Yo, it's mad funny that Jason seems falling apart, too. That's what he
Yeah.
fucking gets, bro. Fuck
Yeah.
Jason. Jason don't answer my fucking text, bro. Fuck him. He's talking about
He's a big shit talker.
He said our
Big shit
team in the Luch League sucks, bro. I got him good with that answer, right? You like that? That he's trying to get with his girlfriend's mom. And that's the BallGame podcast.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on all of our socials. Go subscribe to our Patreon $2 and $4 version. $4 version gets you everything in the $2 version, and it gets you placed into a giveaway for a jersey of your choice. That is before October 1st. That's coming close.
Get in there, because the more people that are in the Patreon and that are in the jersey giveaway mean there's a less chance that we have to give a jersey to Trunks.
Yes,
so
please,
please
bro.
get in there and help us out.
Also, we're gonna be really on our stuff with Patreon this week, I promise, and for the remainder of these weeks. The betting picks are now up. We're gonna continue that every week. It did not go well for me, I'll tell you that much. But we bounce back. That's what we do here at the BallGame podcast. We're known for that. All right, thank you guys for watching, and with that,
Ball game.
BallGame.
I'm not giving you a fucking jersey.